Well, my take is a slightly different than Hassan's. But
What is
sure,
your take?
I'll defend. I mean, it is. You saw my video, right? I mean,
I,
it's not.
I saw it like 2 weeks ago, and I put it out.
Year
It was
ago.
so bad that I just threw it out of my memory. I don't
It
remember
was a year ago. I mean, my take is basically that I think part of the reason the special isn't funny, which I mean, it seems to be the general consensus that it is at the very least less funny than his previous specials,
Mm-hmm.
is basically because it's mean and at least in several places. I mean, oh God. All right. So
Are we putting you on the spot, Doomer? I mean, you
No,
made the
it's fine.
video.
You made the video, Doomer.
I made the video. I'll come here and defend the woke
Shit
people.
take. Okay.
Yeah. Well, so basically, I mean, what I advocated for in the video is just what you guys do. So like everything that I said that you should do to be funny is something that you guys did when we talked about Demon Mama. So basically, I was saying like the thing that offended me the most was a line that's basically like performative cruelty against trans people, where he was like making fun of how a trans woman looked, specifically making fun of characteristics that would indicate that they don't look like a woman, which just seemed fucking mean to me, right?
None of that has come up in our discussion right now, too. That's
Wait a
the
minute.
part of the special when the person was trying to set him up, basically, and she showed a picture of her daughter, which was a trans woman, but didn't necessarily look specifically passing. Correct?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. There is some context to it. The context is the setup is
comment section.
the context is that Chappelle is alone in a bar, is on like Thanksgiving or something, and he sees a lady who's alone, and so he buys her a drink, and then she comes over and starts talking to him, even though he doesn't want her to.
Right.
And she's going through like all this stuff, and then eventually she starts talking about her granddaughter and how proud she is that she's getting acting gigs out in Hollywood. And she shows a picture of the daughter to Chappelle, and all Chappelle says is, "Oh, she's beautiful." And then Chappelle says that by him saying, "Oh, she's beautiful," and he doesn't say that he meant it sarcastically or anything, is that the woman's face immediately turned to mean, and she said, "She's a trans woman," or something. And it was at that point that Dave said, "Oh, she must know who I am," because he thought that she didn't know that he was Dave Chappelle, and that she's like attacking him for thinking that he's anti-transphobic or something. And so then Chappelle said, "Oh, I hate this trap. I should have instead said like, oh, look at this chiseled jaw, or look at this Adam's apple, or blah 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 blah." Right. So it's not like he's just. So that is mean.
That's what he said.
Right. That is mean. But he's saying it's like, oh, I should have said this if I knew you were going to be an asshole to me. I would have been an asshole to you.
But that's not exactly what he said. So what he said was, if I was honest, I wouldn't have fallen for it. If I was honest, I would have said, look at that big chiseled jawline, that big, thick Joe Rogan neck. Is that a dude? Is your daughter a man? That's the quote.
Oh, he says, if I was honest. Okay. That does change the connotation. That's true.
Yeah. So, I mean.
But it does mean that he's being dishonest in a way that is supportive of trans people.
Right.
I mean, he's being, it's like if someone's unattractive and they ask you, how do I look in this dress? And you say,
you look great.
You look attractive.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that that's super pro-trans, but like the following comment is like really, I mean, it's just, it's very off-putting. The only context that would really absolve that is that beforehand he said, this is the worst thing you could possibly say, and then said that. But that's not what he said. He said, if I was honest, I would have said that you look like Joe Rogan, basically. And then like misgender. I mean, it's just mean. It's just a fucking mean comment. And like, I understand the context is different. That's not really what the joke's about. But the context doesn't change the comment. The comment's just fucking mean.
Well, the joke is that he's trying to be polite to this person, and this person, and nothing he says can satiate that politeness, even though he's going, I mean, obviously he's framed the story, so who knows how it actually happened, or if this is even a real story. But from the way he's framed the story, he's like, I'm going out of my way for this person. I'm doing nothing but kindness to this person. And this person attacks me because of some preconceived notion to them after I'm being polite to them.
Right.
And so then he's saying, yeah, if I was honest, I wouldn't be polite to you. I'd be an asshole. And I would say all these things.
And it's in the context of the last special, because the person was setting him up over the last special.
Right. So I don't, to me, it's like, I don't see that as being mean at all.
He
Okay,
is
okay,
he
hold-
is
hold on,
mentioning
hold on,
he
hold
is mentioning that the person is not passing.
Yes.
But
Okay, so-
in the context of the story, he's saying that the person obviously does not pass, but he's lying about the not passing because to be nice.
Right.
Sure. Okay. So we don't actually need to deal with things theoretically because there's a very practical way to talk about this. So the first time I was on you guys' show, we were talking about a video where Demon Mama was talking to Hans of Harkir, right? Now,
Yes.
Demon Mama is a trans woman, and none of us
Shock.
misgendered her, and none of us made fun of her appearance in the sense of making fun of her not passing. Now, why didn't any of us do that, given that I think all three of us fucking hate her?
Because it's not relevant to what was being talked about.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, also, I mean, I think it is mean. I agree, it is mean.
yeah, it's exactly, it's mean, and it's not
Well,
funny.
I mean, if she was mean to us, I'm, obviously.
If she started assaulting our appearance, we could assault her appearance, right?
I know. Then all bets are off. Exactly. As soon as she comes on and starts
Sure.
insulting my appearance.
Well,
then I'm
there's
fucking-
okay. So, well, there's okay. There's
Okay,
a bit
the
of a,
gloves
there's a
are
bit of a
off.
there's a bit of a difference. Okay, insulting a trans person's appearance is slightly different than specifically insulting the fact that they're not passing. Would you
Right.
accept that?
Sure.
No, I would, but I assume you'd accept that if, and now this didn't happen. This isn't a completely analogous, which obviously will happen with Chappelle. But if you're interacting with a trans person and they unprovoked start attacking your appearance, I think then it's totally a fair game to attack their appearance, even if that has to do with them not passing, because like they started that, right? I mean, would you agree with that?
I don't know if I'd have to.
You wouldn't agree with that.
I don't know. Well, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just would need to think about it a bit more because part of me thinks you just shouldn't, under any circumstances,
Even
touch
when
that.
you're being attacked, this is the thing. Because in the context of it, the fucking lady totally set
Well,
him
let's separate it
up.
from the
Well,
Chappelle
but that's
thing for a second.
Yeah, sure. So, the basic argument that I make in my video, obviously, is different than whatever the fuck Hassan is saying here.
Right.
But the basic argument that I'm making is, you can make offensive jokes, but offensive jokes are going to be a lot less funny if you know that these jokes are going to be really fucking offensive to someone, and not just like a little bit offensive. We're talking like really offensive. So if you had a trans friend and you knew how they would react to being misgendered, or to the kind of like performative cruelty stuff of just like making fun of the fact that they're not passing, if you have that in your mind, if you know how they would react to that, it's going to be pretty hard to find something funny knowing the reaction that would sort of spark, right? Like that's basically my argument. And it's a lot of people in my comment section didn't understand the thresholds that I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about any level of offense, because if you call white people crackers, somebody will get offended. Okay. But nobody will get offended to the degree that a black person would get offended if you call them the N-word to their face, or that a trans person would get offended if you make fun of the fact that they're not passing. These are pretty high thresholds for, like, what I would consider to be pretty douchey comments, right? So, I mean, that was basically my point. Is there is the threshold is quite high, but there's a threshold where you're saying something that's going to really, really fucking piss people off, and it's probably not going to be funny to make jokes in that neighborhood. It is possible, but it's going to be a lot less likely. And that was kind of my point. And you can take it with the Demon Mama thing as well. It's much funnier to make fun of dumb shit that she's saying than to just sit there and make fun of like an element of her not passing or misgender. It's just not funny.
How does that joke work in another way? Like, obviously,
the Chappelle one?
Yeah, she's setting him up, and she's the one pulling out the picture and bringing her daughter into it. I mean, there's another level of context here too, because it's the mom, and he's not saying it directly to the person. He's not saying it to the trans person, "You don't pass," which is a level of cruelty that's a bit deeper than.
So that's the thing, is that this was one of the most common comments in my comment section was, you're taking the joke out of context. And the simple response to that is, this doesn't even have to do with the joke. It's just a fucking mean comment. You could make the joke without the comment even being there. It doesn't even affect the joke. In fact, I think in my video, I didn't even call it a joke. I called it a comment, because it's just a passing remark that has nothing to do with the humor of the situation. It's not even funny. I mean,
but
there's no. Sorry.
Well, it kind of I mean, listen, if the joke was structured like Chappelle said, because the way Hassan's kind of like framing this as if Chappelle like saw a trans woman and was like, look at her thick neck and Joe Rogan shoulders, you know, that's a man.
Yeah.
Like, I would agree with that if that was the way that the thing was set up, but that's not the way it was.
Yeah, the joke wouldn't work that way. The joke is about getting even.
Well, it's not
Sure,
even.
but you can make a joke about getting even without, you know, attacking the fact that this woman's daughter isn't passing or whatever. I mean, it's not even related to the joke. That's the thing.
But
if the joke is about this woman being a dick, then there's no need to attack this woman's daughter.
Well, but that's because I opened up Netflix right now and I have the subtitles on so I can get I got to the point
hilarious
so I can read it. Dave says, "Oh, she's beautiful," and then he says, "You know, the woman looked mean at me and said she's transgender," and then I said, "Oh, this bitch does know who I am, and she trapped me." Okay, and he says, "I really resented that trap because that trap doesn't let me be honest. If I was honest, I wouldn't have fallen for that trap, and I would have just looked at the picture like, look at the big chiseled jawline, big thick Joe Rogan neck." Okay, so what he's saying is that like the politeness of existing in the society and being polite to this woman was the trap, and that she took advantage of his politeness.
Sure,
so that's why I don't see it the way
that isn't even related to what I said, though. I'm just saying that the comment, the way that he is describing this person, is really fucking rude. The context doesn't change anything about.
But that's his point. His point is that I'm not gonna be an asshole to you. I'm gonna be polite, and then you're gonna throw this politeness back in my face. That's the point of what he's saying.
I mean, okay, so the pro-trans attitude is like, okay, I'll pretend like you're passing, but if I was being honest, I would say you look gross. This is like the pro-trans perspective.
Well, listen, that's true for some people. I don't know what you want. Not everyone can pass. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's a fucking okay. It would be different to have that thought in your head and then to go up as the most popular comedian in the world and say it to everyone. Those are different things, right?
Sure, but he is doing a comedy bit, right?
Yeah, but again, this comment isn't funny. There's
he even says the end of the comment. He says you can't say that shit. So he's acknowledging that you can't say that publicly.
Sure,
right?
But
isn't that part? I mean, part of the point, part of being a comedian to me is that like the comedian's going to say what people are thinking, but they're not going to say because of politeness and public and social pressure.
Well, and it's really brilliant the way he frames it as like there's some injustice that is taking place, and he is righting the scales of injustice. Yeah, you're saying it's a dick move, but the whole point is to be a dick move because this person has entrapped him in a situation that he never wanted to be in. They're the person that's being the asshole, and he is righting the scales of injustice by being an equally big asshole back to them. And not really an asshole to the trans person. I mean, this is the trans person. Like, if it's the actual trans person, I don't even know if
he didn't actually say this to the mom either, or the grandmother. This is just, he's saying he should have said this in his mind. Yeah.
Right.